And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Now this is kind of an unusual game that we're talking about. Expedition Sumatra, we've already done a review of that game. This is the Dadu Dadu dice version. This game has been sold out already. So why are we doing a review of it? They sent us this game kind of because they knew how much we liked the original game.
It was on my top 100.
It was on Melody's top 100. So I'm doing this review in hopes that, well, first of all, if you ever come across a copy, pick it up. But I'm also hoping that someone might see this and say, that's a pretty cool game, and publish it, because I'm spoiling this now, but I really like this kind of game. It's a Yahtzee type game. But let's take a look at it, and then we'll be back. Just like the original game, they do their funky flip side rulebook reading. I guess you could just open it all up and read it that way. But it folds up like this. But anyhow, the game comes in a box like this. And in the box, you have 5 different boards that you can use. One of the boards here, on the other flip side here, tells you the names of all the different animals, so you can learn more about the animals. And then you pick which board you're going to use for the game. So let's say I use this board, and you place it here in the box, and you put the glass on top of it. Alright, that way you can write on the board with an erasable marker, and you're actually writing on the glass. Alright, so what we're going to be doing over the course of the game is we're going to be rolling dice. Now these are the dice that came with the game, and they had special Essen dice, and I'm going to use these dice that they gave out as promos just because they're easier to see. And so the way the game works is, on your turn, you roll dice, and then you have to take an action with your dice. If you can't, your turn is over. Now, your action can be saving 1 or 2 dice. There's a spot on the board to save them. Once those are filled up, though, if you can't take an action with your remaining dice or the saved dice, then your turn is finished. So usually, we save 1 die, and then you can save another die later on. Well, I guess I'll explain how to do it here, and then we'll take a closer look at the board. What you're going to be trying to do often is you're trying to move on the board. There are sea routes on the board, and there are land routes on the board. And so if you roll these, you can use those to move, but you always need a compass. So let's say I roll a compass. A compass allows me to move 1 or 2. So here I could play a compass and move on a half land, half sea route, or I can just move on 1 sea route, or I could move on 2 sea routes with a compass. But you need the compass to move, and then you need the other things to move with it too. Another thing you can do is you can capture animals or take actions in the boards, and that just requires different combinations of dice. Almost always you need binoculars, and usually you need land vehicles for that too. Then there's the storms. If you ever roll 2 storms, the time that you roll those 2 storms, you can't make a movement. And if you ever roll 2 natives, the time you roll that, you can't capture an animal. Let's take a closer look now at the board itself and see how the game works. Each player has a certain amount of turns, and you're going to keep track of those turns on a journal here. What you do is, if you get no points, then you would write 0 points on a turn. If you move on a turn, then you put a slash, and there's a reason for that. If you get like 5 points, I'd write 5 here, and we keep going across. If you ever get a second 0, which means you didn't move and you didn't get any points, instead of taking that 0, you cross out your first 0, and then you get it to go again. Of course, if you get 0 again, you have 0. But this is kind of a nice help to people who just have really unlucky die rolls. Now, when you first start a route, you're going to start at one of these spots here. There's different ship ports that you're going to be moving from. And when you start from one of those ship ports, let's say I roll 2 land routes and a compass. I can fill these spots in here with my color. Now that does a couple things. One, it stops other people from going there, but now I can go on to the next spot. To take this spot here, I need, according to the side over here, I need to get 1 compass, 1 boat, and 1 land unit. So let's say I roll those 3, then I can fill that spot, and I take that and I look over here, and the first one is worth 3 points. And that's how it is usually. If I can get to a spot where there's animals, see, here's 2 animals. We have a gibbon and then a bird. And when I get there, I look, and for the gibbon, I need binoculars, compass, boat, and land unit. To get the bird, I need binoculars, boat, and land unit. So the bird is easier, but the gibbon is worth more points. Let's say, for example, I get the bird. then I go here to the first spot and color in the 5, and I would get 5 points that turn, and color in the bird, but since I've captured the bird, I cannot capture the other thing there. Only one animal can be captured each one. Now, if you get to a trap spot, and you see the different traps, you can capture any animal that you want, except for the bottom animal, which is usually the rarest animal. In this instance, there's one flying squirrel on the board, and he's worth 12 points. And that's how the game progresses. That's how you get points. Now, on each board, there is, if you notice, I colored in that flower down there. Each of these boards, whatever that picture is something different. For example, when you have a flower, yeah, I would only color in half of it, and later on I can color the other half for when I get to an animal spot, I can capture the second animal at a spot. On this one here, for example, there's little huts, and so when you get to one of these huts on this board and you only color the bottom half, the color in the top half, you can then use it as a joker when you're trying to capture an animal later on. And so each board has something special that you can do that will give you a special ability depending on what that board is. So that makes the boards a little bit different. When you get to the end of a certain number of turns, then that depends on players, whoever has the longest route of travel will also get 6 bonus points, which can very much determine who wins the game. And whoever has the most points at that time is the winner. Alright, I'm going to let the kids give their opinions first, and then I'll come back to it, but I'll ask them. Melody, what do you think of this game?
I like this game because rolling the dice, getting the different things, moving on water, maybe in the air, on the ground, trying to get the animals. I'm still trying to get an antelope or one of those special animals. I really want the big points. I never got one yet. But it's a lot of fun. I like coloring on the white bead board thingy above the actual board. I like how there's different types of boards. The different animals, like they don't have the same animals. Like Expedition Sumatra, the regular game has it, and they just like this one has rabbits, antelope, orangutan, different types of monkeys. I just really like this game.
All right, Amy.
I like this game because I won.
Okay, but is there any other reason you like?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I didn't think I was gonna win, but I got win. And I like it. The deer, I almost got it, but the dice fell on the floor and it did not count.
That's right. Dice fell on the floor here. You got to re-roll them all. That's the rules. All right. But anyway, here's the deal. There's a lot of Yahtzee-style variants. You know, roll dice, keep dice, etc. One of the more common ones, popular ones that people like is the Settlers Dice game. This really reminds me of the Settlers Dice game, except this is much superior to it. With 5 different boards, it's fantastic. Everyone's playing on the same board, so the interaction's high. If I take this spot, you can't go there. If I get there and get the animal first, you can't. The idea of saving dice from turn to turn, that works. The fact that each board has special spaces that have a special ability that's different. The animals being different on each board, like Melody said, didn't really matter for the game, but even the points are different on the sides. It's just cool to go and capture the different animals to preserve them and different things. A nice little production. This is a very enjoyable little game and kind of unique, even though it's in that genre. I haven't played any other one that I think is as fun as this one. So of the Yahtzee genre, this is my favorite one so far, and I hope this gets republished and picked up and produced. This is a great little game.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.